Everybody, Go21 back with another video. And today's video is going to be a little bit unusual because this is me trying to explain something I sort of learned just like not a week ago, and I'm now trying to make a tutorial about it, so hopefully you'll learn something and hopefully I explained it well. So here we go. For those of you who don't know, I recently got a brand new transmitter receiver. I bought the FlySky FS-i6, which is honestly, first of all, just a really awesome looking controller. I love it. I love the feel of it. I love the way it works. I love the setup on it and everything. This is not a review video, although maybe I might do one. I don't know. We'll see. But the point of today's video is talking about how to set this up for using in an RC, boat, and ship. The issue that I found when I was trying to find tutorials about this was that, first of all, the manual doesn't really talk about how to set it up for things that are on the water. Really, this intent for this particular thing was meant for planes, helicopters, quadricopters, tanks for some reason, but not boats. And I thought that was really kind of strange considering the fact that like transmitters really aren't that different from one to the other. They obviously have, they share a lot of the same general principles for the most part. But I thought I would go ahead and sort of explain how mine is set up, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more clear to anybody that is trying to find a tutorial explaining all of this. First of all, I got the transmitter receiver that comes with the stock 6 channels. So you can upgrade this to have 10 channels in total. I have the stock firmware on it. I don't feel like I want to upgrade this anytime soon because I have everything that I need to basically control my ship the way I want to pilot it, turn off my extra accessory controls, things like that. For the most part, I really had to use Perplexity to explain to me because the manual just doesn't really talk about it. I had to look up how to set up things like fail-safes and endpoints. And of course, your fail-safes and your endpoints, your preferences will vary, of course, obviously, depending what you're after for that. And I'll try to talk about some of the ways that I set that up as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my computer screen because I have a visual aid for you guys to see. So basically, you can this kind of explains the most of it here. This is basically the chunk of the entire tutorial. If you have a boat, this will be your throttle on channel 3, your rudder on channel 4, and your aux on channel 5 or 6, depending what you're doing. It's basically that kind of simple, which is really, really nice. So you basically plug in, your ESC on the throttle, your servo on the rudder, and then if you have an extra relay like I do or some other accessory, that could go on channel 5 or 6. If you have 10 channels, from what I understand, a little bit of research that I've done, any channels, I guess, above channel 4 are considered like your auxiliary channels, so you could plug a relay or some other function of your ship into that particular part of the receiver and stuff. Channels 1 and 2, I'm not too sure what they're really used for. I just know that I was told by Perplexity AI to use 3 and 4 for those particular functions. So that's kind of like the gist of how you plug everything in. And I know I should have actually probably included, maybe I'll take a photo with my phone and actually show a physical image of what it looks like when all those devices are plugged in. As far as tuning it and everything else and stuff, you basically would turn on your transmitter like so. Do know that when you go to turn on your transmitter, your throttle control must be in the up position as well as your other switches. For some reason, the FlySky gets really, really picky. Its startup sequence requires everything to be in the up position for some reason. When you go to turn on your receiver, before you do, make sure that your stick control is down as much to the center as you can, because what I found is that if it's not, your ESC will actually get trained in the wrong way. It thinks that it should start moving the moment that it turns on. So make sure that this particular stick, the left stick, is in the center, and then turn on your entire RC system in your boat. And of course, I'll go ahead and do that now. But once you do that, it will beep and it'll basically say that, hey, it sees your transmitter and receiver. Sorry, it's not focusing. It'll see your transmitter and receiver. Obviously, I know it looks like a plane, but that's unfortunately just kind of like the way that it looks. And of course I named mine CL83. You can name your models, which is really awesome. To get to some of the sub menus, you would simply hold the OK button. Okay, you hold the OK button, and then this is basically your control. I'm gonna head and get to give me a second. So here we've got the endpoints, we've got the reverse channels, things like that. Now, your reverse channels, on my previous transmitter, I had a Futaba transmitter. I forget what the actual model is. I had to reverse the servo control because for some reason on that particular one, it needed me to reverse it so that left was left and right was right, obviously, for my rudder control and stuff. For this particular transmitter, I didn't have to do that. It somehow just kind of already had it right to begin with. At least I think that's, let me double check that. I don't think I had to reverse anything. No, I didn't have to reverse anything. Everything is in the up. I'll show you. Everything is in the up position, as you can kind of see here a little bit. And so that was already set up and ready to go. For my endpoints, now your endpoints are going to vary per your motor. On channel 3, I've got 31% for forward and 16% for back. So what that means is that as you raise and lower your stick control for your propulsion on your ship, the endpoints basically dictate, as far as I understand, how, I'm going to call it how fast the motor spins. I'm sure there's a more technical term for it. I don't know what that technical term is. I'm going to call it how fast it moves. And that really will vary based on your motor that you have, your ESC that you have, and how heavy your ship is. For me, my ship weighs about 9 pounds. The ESC is a hobby weighing 1060, and the motor is a 6-volt, 10,000 RPM motor. So it's a really fast motor, but because of how heavy the ship is, and also actually my prop size is technically like a little too big for it, but I don't feel like switching out because I really like it. I had to really tone my forward propulsion down to 31%. I may have to tune it up a little bit as I actually get out and sail it in some larger waters, but you will have to basically adjust your endpoints as needed. For my reverse control, I actually set my endpoint down to 16 because I want to be able to have a slow reverse back for my ship. You don't really need your boat to go backwards super fast, especially if you're trying to like maneuver out of a potentially sticky or dangerous situation, depending on what's going on while you're out in the water with your boat and everything. So for me, those are my controls. So I'll just go and show it again. Those are my endpoint controls. And so that is how you can set up your endpoints for your ship. The aux control is a little bit tricky to kind of set up. It's kind of hard to explain a little bit. Basically, the way that they're set up is that channel 5, which is where my relay is plugged into, is switch A. So switch A is this switch here. So when I flip it down, it turns my relay on. When I flip it up, it turns my relay off. That relay controls a cooling fan and some light aesthetics for the ship. You do have switch A, switch B, you have switch C, which is a 3-position switch, and you have a switch D, which you can also use, as well as some variable rotary dials as well. Because I have the stock firmware, I think I can only assign the 6 channels to any one of those particular controls. I don't have anything that needs a variable dial, but depending on what you have in your ship, you could potentially do that. Like, I mean, if you wanted to imagine, like, if you had a ship that had like a turret, you could use like the little rotary dials to change something, but I don't have that. That's how you assign some of your aux controls. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's it for that kind of a setup. If we go back to the main menu here, let me go ahead and make sure there's anything else I need to talk about here. You have throttle curve, which I haven't messed with. A little correct information to add here. I did use throttle curve, which adjusts acceleration curve of the left control stick. I would suggest you have a gradual curve to have a smooth acceleration. For the stick mode, use mode 1. This will make the left stick throttle control and the right stick rudder control for your ship or boat. There is something, sub-trim. This is important. Sub-trim, from what I understand, has to do with how center, and this is particularly important with your rudder. If your servo is not like dead center, it's going to affect how your ship turns. Sub-trim is set to this, basically. So this is on channel 4. That's my sub-trim controls. You adjust sub-trim, but I believe using the... So you hit OK several times. So if you have this in front of you, if you have your transmitter in front of you, you would hit the OK button to scroll down to the channel you want to adjust. In this case, channel 4 has an off-axis sub-trim so that my servo is dead center, so that when I go to steer it, it will steer all the way to the left and all the way to the right, and that gives me full actuation of my rudder control. Oh, here we go. Now you can kind of see it. Just like that. Okay, so that's your sub-trim control. And then let's see, if we go to system setup, and we can go all the way down to, and I'll just tell you what I'm scrolling to, the RX setup. So RX setup is basically is how the receiver is set up, essentially. And this is where you set things like your failsafe, you set up things like your PPM control and RX battery and a bunch of other things, none of which I've touched personally because Well, one, I'm not too sure what they do, I'm gonna be real honest with you, and two, I only adjusted the things I felt were important. So in my case, it'd be sub-trim, it would be this fail-safe, things like that. You can feel free to explore more options with the transmitter if you like to, but for my fail-safe, I basically have it that everything switches to off in the event that the transmitter battery dies. I feel like this was kind of the safest thing to do because it means that I can go retrieve my ship if I have to. If I had like a boat near, like an actual like human boat nearby, I can come by and bring it back to shore, things like that and stuff. But this is basically what my failsafe control is. There we go. Now you can see it really well. So if you want to copy my settings, feel free to do so. If anybody anybody that's watching this wants to copy my settings, please feel free to do so and then modify as you want to. I wish I wish I could export all these settings for you guys so you could like have it for yourself and have the same configuration that I do. But that kind of covers most of the setup for my particular FlySky controller. It's kind of like a large learning curve, I think, for this one. As I said, I had a simple Futaba controller that had like a trigger and a steering wheel and stuff. And I got this because I just wanted to have more granular, more granular control and just something that was a little bit more, I don't know, I'm a digital person and I like more high-tech things, and that's just my preference. And I felt like it was a lot easier to, instead of holding a trigger, I can just push up on a stick. As you can kind of hear, like, my motors, going on in the background here and everything. So, but this is basically kind of my hopefully decently explained tutorial about how to set up the FlySky FS-i6. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section down below. I will do my best to try to help you. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you just frankly, I don't know. I'm like a hands-on learning person. And if I learn something, I try to share it with people to the best of my ability. So hopefully this tutorial wasn't too scuffed for you. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe and all that other jazz. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.